Okay.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi, my
everyone.
cool cat and kittens. Or what did she say? What
Oh,
does Carol Baskin
hi,
say?
cats. The type. If you get that reference, let us know.
Let us
Hi,
know.
cats, or something like that.
But thank you for joining us today on our YouTube channel, and hopefully, live for most of you too, as you continue to have this programming. But we just had just one quick announcement before we get started. We are going to be having an academic advising workshop on Tuesday, the 21st of this month, from 4 to 5. It's really going to be talking about how to register for the summer. It's going to be talking about how to register for the fall, since summer registration happens. Since registration for the summer's coming up, and then the register for the fall happens over the summer. We want to make sure that all of you get your questions answered and everything else. And then Erin will do individualized one-on-ones if you need it as well. So look out for that communication, but that's currently one of the updates we have, and then we'll have some more next week too.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone else have any other announcements? All right. One more announcement. I think, by the way, our peer leader application is due next week, Sunday, April 19th at midnight. Please get it done. And we will be reaching out to you, letting you know what times are the interviews and getting back to you on that. So let me or Fred know if you have any questions regarding that. All
I
right.
totally forgot about that.
So,
Thanks for bringing that up.
I got that. Yeah, I already have that. Other than that, yeah, today's podcast is going to be focused on lessons we have learned in life, giving some tea about that. I think everyone needs to learn some info here and there about, what people go through and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's like a perfect topic, especially for college students, because I think college is at one time in your life, or you have many of these, but it's one time in your life where you're really growing, maturing, you're learning about more about yourself, you're learning about different things, and you get to do that in like a couple year span. So like I think this is such an interesting topic to have right now for everyone.
Yeah, I think again, with college is such a transformational like period in life. You just go through so much. I feel like for example, I'm already in my last quarter of my third year, and I could say I learned so much compared to my first year. I am not the same girl, I think. But yeah.
I think with that, what do you think the biggest lesson then has been for you these past 3 years, or just in general that you've learned?
I think related to, I have different lessons like in different environments and stuff. I think with college especially, I think just being open to the idea to getting involved and like just putting yourself out there. I think if you were one of those people in high school, I was one of these people in high school that was very quiet and like scared to even like say, like talk to people and stuff like that. But I was always interested in like, student body leadership and stuff like that. But I just knew I always thought, I'm just too shy, or no one like is gonna listen to me and stuff like that. And I think coming into college, I wanted to change that. I'm just so passionate about things, but I was just so reserved in myself. But I think this year especially, I started learning just to start like speaking and to start making those connections and just start being more confident in yourself. I think a big thing is just the confidence, like being able to know that you are who you are. You have a lot to offer. I don't think you should ever put yourself down and think that you don't have anything to offer. Everyone has something to offer. I think that's very special. Everyone has something to like, something important to them. And I know it gets to us a lot where we're like, oh, well, we don't matter, or like, that insecurity hits in. But I think this is a great time, especially like during college and stuff like that, to figure out that you are, unique in your own way, and you do have a lot to offer, and you do bring, your presence is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think it's a growing time, and honestly, my life lesson was going to be exactly what you were talking about. I think sometimes we go throughout life, and as we continue to grow, and as college students, sometimes we don't always like learn to love ourselves as much as we should, or learn to appreciate the differences that we have. Sometimes we're so stuck on like, oh, I wish I was more like this, I wish I was more like that. But all of us are meant to be just very unique, and I wish people understood of like self-love and how to love yourself and like appreciating yourself, right? Sometimes we give so much love to other people, but we don't internalize that love for ourselves, right? We tell people we love them all the time, that they're pretty, that they're beautiful, yet we're not always as nice to ourselves. So I think one of the biggest things, exactly what you were talking about, is like, I think college is also an ideal environment to grow and learn more about yourself and start learning to love those sides of you that sometimes you didn't always love, but they make you extremely unique. So like, again, kind of going off of what you were saying.
Yeah, and like I think it's like, again, the self-love journey, it's hard. I think that's something I've learned, that it's not easy. It's definitely not like just a straight path to like, yep, I'm this person and I love myself, it definitely zigzags. I think even just was that like healing. I think everyone goes through a period of healing from something in the past. I think because again, college, a lot of people move away and like, or like you're just not there with your family anymore. You're like you're out of like the household. You're not there. So it's really like you start to get that sense of being by yourself and who you are. And I was like one of those people who like I used to hate being alone. I did not like my own thoughts. I did not like being by myself and hearing my own thoughts. And like I was that person who was like so nice to others, but I couldn't even be nice to myself. And it's just about like, I think again, it's not an easy path, especially with the healing process. If you have gone through stuff in the past, like trauma and stuff like that, it's never like just like, all right, I'm healed, like that's it. Like it's always gonna hit you. Sometimes you're gonna have those days where you're like down, like like it hurts today. And that I feel like that's another thing. It's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to validate them. Do not block them. I think this is where my psychology major comes out. Don't ever like I think you shouldn't invalidate that. Like I think everyone should validate their own emotions and not block them off, because I think it just built up. Did you have something to say off of that, Fredo?
Oh, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. You kept going. I think with that, like self-healing is allowing yourself the time to self-heal. I think sometimes we go through things in life and we just put them on the back burner because it's like, no, I'm in finals, I'm in school, I'm in this, I'm doing that. It's like, I don't have the time to stop and heal. And then we just put ourselves in like this bigger hole. So like, I think on top of that, finding yourself the time to heal and feel. I think even that, speaking as a male and as a male that grew up in a very, machismo Latino household, like we were always taught not to be in touch with our emotions, that crying wasn't okay. And it's like, as I got older, it's like, no, I need to validate myself. I need to validate my emotions. I need to give myself the time to feel. And it's something that I didn't learn until I was like way older. That's like, I used to just not feel, I used to not want to feel things and just push them on the back burner. And it wasn't until like I got older that I was like, no, I need to sit with these feelings, help myself understand what does this mean for you and can I start that self-healing again,
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Lalo? You've been really quiet over there.
I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, it's cool to have like some way to like relax and do stuff like that. But I don't know. Personally, I think I'm like a little bit too laid back sometimes. So like, there's different different sides of the thing, because like weekends I don't do any schoolwork. I'm like doing my things. Like I go ride motorcycles and I go chill because I always want to make sure I got that time. But yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. I think self-care is like a huge thing. And so many of us don't learn how to do that ever. Not it doesn't even matter if you're college or not in college. Like some of us don't know how to have those intimate moments with ourselves, but those moments of like, this is my time to be myself, and this is like my own like, weekend or day or whatever it is to just be myself, and like really that life balance. Sometimes we're always like work, school, but it's like, where's that fun time and free time that allows us to really be ourselves, but sometimes even be with ourselves and our thoughts alone, part of self-healing too.
I think it's something I definitely learned with you. I think you notice too that sometimes I try to take on so much and I try to be that person. You're like, girl, slow down. Like, I know you went through so. I feel like you've caught that sometimes where I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do this and this, and you're like, whoa, one thing at a time. Like, don't overpush it with yourself. I think also just balancing out like yourself and like what you can do and then what you can't do right now. It's that you'll never do it, but it's just right now, like don't take so much on your plate because you're gonna spill that plate. Like I think about it as like when you have a full plate, like it's harder to walk with, but over time just taking that
and being honest with yourself about when do you have too much on your plate, right? And that work-life balance as well. It's like, what's on your plate, what is prioritized, and being okay with saying no. I think that's one of the biggest things that as like young professionals and as young scholars, we don't know how to do. We always want to do everything and anything and just say yes to things. And it's like, we have to learn how to say no, and also like how to prioritize and what's more important. I think again, sometimes even as myself, like as a young professional, I always try to like, oh, I'm new to the job, I have to prove myself. I'm going to sign up for this, and I'm going to do this, and this. And then I find myself in a hole where I'm like, shit, I can't even do all of this right now, So.
I sorry, this made me think of a different lesson. I think
Please.
if anyone wants to touch on this, failure is okay. I think a lot, like even myself, I'm still getting used to being okay with like a no, or like, that not failure in a sense, but like it's okay if you don't always get what you want. I know our ego tends to take over and be like, oh, like, why didn't this happen my way and stuff like that? Because I'm that type of person where I'm like so impatient and like I'm like, so I want this way, and I'm trying to be okay with that. And like I feel like everyone learns over time that failure is okay, and it brings you to where you are, like eventually, where you're meant to be and stuff.
Yeah. And I see this a lot with first years. First years that come to DU, sometimes, and many of them are like the top of their class. They're used to straight A's. They're used to this and that. And high school is very different than college too. And they're used to being like the star athlete. They're just, they go from being a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a huge pond, And I see this a lot with our first year. They like feel like they have to, not fail any class, be as involved, not fail anything whatsoever in life, accomplish everything they want to do. Yeah. But I think failure is part of growth. And I think if we don't fail, we don't learn. But I think even, what does he say?
I thought this was life lessons, not at Lalo.
Oh.
Lalo feels very attacked by us right now.
Fits.
Actually, Lalo, let's bounce out to you. What is your biggest life lesson that you've learned?
Yeah.
I don't know. My biggest life lesson, like always, is taking the risk. Like you never want to let an opportunity pass you by. Whether that be like, I don't know. Like there's a lot of different ways you could do this. Like you could take a class, you could do it academically, you could go for a job, go for a girl, go for like a new trick on a dirt bike. I don't know, do whatever you want. But like at the end of the day, you might come out hurt and you might like hurt yourself a lot. Like this weekend we're doing new jumps on the dirt bikes, and like I was like whatever. And we didn't wear helmets or no padding. So like we like going for it, and then like I just lost control of the motorcycle and I kind of like just let go. And like we just hit the floor.
You're like, Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah, it is what it is.
Literally, that's the best representation of it. I like what Lalo said. It reminds me of like one of my favorite high school teachers I had in high school. He always told us like I remember the first day of like we had an orientation for freshmen, and he always did this every year with every freshman class, telling them you could either sit back and watch people live in the experience, or you could join in and be in the experience yourself. And I think, again, you could let those opportunities pass by, and be safe. Yeah, that's fine. If you like that, if you want to be that person who plays safe, or sometimes, take that risk, go out there. And I feel like a lot of us, especially like first generation students, it took the risk in coming to college, I think. I know, like, I don't know, everyone has a different story, but I know for me, it was definitely like a risk, like even coming here and stuff, like, and applying, because like at first generation, like we don't have parents who know what the application process is like, or like what even stepping foot on campus is like. Like I was so used to high school and stuff, and then you come to campus and it's like, oh, like, so there's no crowded hallways anymore, like, and there's no familiar faces like that. Like it's kind of like you take the risk, and especially I think college has a lot of opportunities for everyone. Like,
yeah. And I think one of the biggest things they say in life, right? Don't have any regrets. But I think, as you go through life, if you're not taking these risks or challenge yourself to get yourself out of your comfort zone, you're going to start having regrets of like, damn it, I wish I would have applied for that job. Dang it, I wish I would have, tried out for this sport. I wish I would have done this. And, you have to start taking risks in life, because you never know where you're going to get. I think perfect. I have a story. I think one of the biggest things for me when I took a risk, when it came to this job, everybody kept really, I think, encouraging me to apply, but letting me know like, hey, there's PhD candidates that are applying for the same job. And I only had a bachelor's at the time. And I was like, what's the worst they're going to say? No? Shoot, let's take that risk, And look what ended up working out. Like, imagine if I wouldn't have taken that risk. I don't know if I even would have been like a D.
I don't think anyone
wants to imagine, but it's like take every single risk possible. But I think it really goes back to goes back to Lalo's point. Like, be a risk taker in life. Like, don't be afraid of things. The more things you try and the more things you go for, it might lead you to paths that you didn't even know were imaginable. So I think exactly what Lalo said is perfect. You know what, like, life advice my parents gave me that just really stuck with me for like my whole life? my mom always said, like, you know, and I shared this in a couple of different presentations that I had, but I always share it with people. She always shared it with me. It's like, you can change the world because the world is too big. But if you can't impact someone's life in such a positive way that those actions alone changes their world, then that's it right there, you know? And like, I live and breathe by that, you know? It means just smiling at somebody. It means being nice. It means being kind. Like, that's literally what my mom's basically telling me not to be a dickhole. Like, that's what it is. Is there any way to beat that? Is that a thing?
I literally have like I can't even show y'all. Like that mirror right there has sticky notes covered in it, and I always wake up and I have those sticky notes in me. But one of them is like, you always like one of my goals every day is to make at least one person smile, like at least, and like or do one good a day if you can't make someone smile. And I think that's such a good model to say, like, because I know the world is so big. It is so big, and it's not saying it's impossible that you're gonna change the world, but it's also like I think you could change so many people's life individually, and I like that. I like that advice, like or that lesson, you know, because you could do so much, like the impact you have on one person. I think that's just great on its own. What you could do just to one human being and like their world, because I feel like like it's just special to even have a connection with anyone.
Hmm. And it doesn't have to be huge, you know. It's just like you're saying, simple as like smiling, saying hello. Sometimes that makes a world of difference to people. And it's funny because I'm on this group chat because of our neighborhood, and somebody posted on there. She's like, you know, I see all these people out there running, walking their dogs, but she's like, this is a time where all of us are in different places in our world right now. And she's like, I've noticed, and nobody has ever smiled at me for the past week. And she's like, and that's getting to me. And I was like, holy shit, you know, it's like these small things, like as simple as a smile can change somebody's day, you know?
I think that's so true. I think it really impacts if someone comes back to a space or not, you know. I for example, like the bungalow, like I always try to like be like very like welcoming to whoever shows up and stuff, because I feel like that impression right there leaves that mark on them. Kind of like if they come in and it's quiet and nobody talks to them, they're not gonna be like, well, I want to come back here. But if someone I like, they're like, who's this loud little short girl over here saying hi to me? Like, but feeling like, all right, like we know, like I know that I'm welcome here, that I am safe here, like no one, like at least someone here is actually like noticing my presence. I think is such a big thing too.
And you just brought up something that someone like shared with me a while ago. It's like how you show up to a space is also very important, right? And you just hit on that. Like, I think something for me that I always try to do right before I walk into work, it's like I know that I'm going to be interacting with students that are going to be coming from different points in their day, but I check myself out the door and I was like, no, I have to be present, I have to be on, I have to be, you know, warm, I have to be fuzzy, because it's important how we show up to our spaces. It's just like how I would show up to like a conference and I'm ready to present, like I hype myself up, and like I think that's important too. You know, sometimes we might not be feeling it that day, but it's important of how we show up depending on what spaces we are. And I think that's really for people that work with other students, that's really important for us to learn, if like you got to show up and be energetic and match the students' energy too.
How
Yeah.
I what were you gonna say, little?
Uh, but no, like it could go from like anything. We could go from like school to like homies. You never know what type of day somebody's having, so it's always cool to like be there for them. Like even in like when I used to play soccer, you would always like there was always like even if you're like not ready for the game, you hyping yourself up or like giving somebody like that boost right before the game could change like the whole outcome of the thing. So it's like just like the little things could change everybody's like day and how they're doing, because you never know what somebody's going through.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes into another lesson I've learned in life is to never judge right away. To never, I know it's so easy to be like, that person's so rude. But like understanding that maybe something just happened to them. Like, like maybe at home, they like, you never know what someone else is going through. And I try to be that person who's unconditional love for every person, no matter what. Even if like people are like hurt me and stuff, I try to always be understanding and be like, you know what? They did the best they can with all the information they have right now and with everything that they have right now.
Yeah, and you know, I have these cards that I post them a few times on my social media, but they're called like affirmators, but every single day they have a different life lessons, right? And I was trying to look for it right now, but there's one that I got the other day that talks exactly about that. Not judging like a book by its cover, and it says like, today, no matter what space you show up in, whatever new person you meet, don't prejudge them. Take the time to get to learn more about them, and then develop your own opinion about that after it. But it's like we have this consistent thing where it's like we look at someone and right away things are coming up for us. We're judging them right away without ever getting to know that person. And it's so funny because I think that weekend I had gone on a trip and I met this new couple. And right away I started just like this, and I just shut myself down real quick. And I was like, no, like let's get to meet them. Some of the coolest people ever. And we've been really great friends for the last couple of weeks, and they're gonna get married and invite us to their wedding. And it's like, holy shit, like it really does come to fruition that I should keep doing that. It's like not judging anyone by what I see first or my first interactions, but getting the time to get to know who they actually are as a person.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they might have had an off day, you know?
And I think it's just so important because like before all of this, we used to have everyday interaction with people. And it's so easy to just right away assume that this person's like, I don't like them, they're mean, or like, I don't like them, they're rude and stuff like that. But like, it's like over time, little do you know, like you find out like, oh, they were just having a terrible, like their dog just died. Like imagine, like, wouldn't you feel like off to that day? And like, that's what I try to live by. Like I try to understand everyone's actions in the way they are. I try to understand like, hey, maybe today wasn't their day, or like maybe they have something going on in their life right now where they're not their best version of themselves. And like I try to like, because before in the past, I think even when you're young, you're right away you could just judge someone and be like, oh yep, I don't like you, I don't know. And it stops you from making those connections, and it stops you from actually talking to that person and getting to know them. Because little do you know, like maybe they are like really like down to earth and so sweet, but like they're just not having their good week or a good day or something like that.
Imagine how many people all three of us have missed out on that we didn't take the chance to really get to know more because we were in a different headspace or we thought X or Y of them. Like I think myself in high school, and I'm like, there's so many people that I missed out on because I had these preconceptual thoughts about them without ever getting the chance to meet them. It's like, I don't know. I stop and reflect the many people I missed out on throughout life,
And I think it gets in the way of having compassion and having empathy with others. And like, again, that connection, it gets in that way of like being able to talk to that person. Because little do you know, like me, and I think everyone knows me and Nicole, like best friends. In the beginning, like right away, we had different assumptions of each other. Like, I don't know. I remember I didn't like right away. I was just like, I don't know her. I don't even want to talk to her. Like, because I had another friend introduce us, but she was like, come on, let's go with my friend Nicole. And I was just like, why? Like, I don't know her. I don't want to talk to her.
Literally my childhood, exactly where you're at. My childhood friend, I remember she was like, oh my God, like, I really like you. Let's be friends. And I was like, you're kind of weird. I don't want to hang out with you. And I remember the first time my group of friends, we were downtown and they're like, let's just ditch her. And I was like, what? I was like, you're rude. I was like, she doesn't know how to get home. I was like, even if she's a little weird. But she wasn't. And, we ended up growing up together, and my family loves her. And it's like, imagine if I would have just said yes at that time of like, let's ditch her. And we would have ditched her, and then she would have hated me for the rest of my life. But like, it's those small things where you're right. Getting the chance to getting to know someone also involves, having more compassion and more love for them too. So I think it goes with that. So I think my advice for everybody, and I think all three of us too, as we continue to move through life and through these next couple of years, is like, be open-minded about someone new that you could possibly meet, even if they're really different than you are.
What do you think, or Lalo, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, or any other advice you'd like to give everybody else?
No, but if we're gonna tell stories, I agree with everything that we're telling. But if you ever need me to tell stories, I'm like on that shit. But no, yeah, I really agree with that though. But you never like you guys are saying, you never know what the other person's going through, or maybe it's just you. Maybe that day it was you. Maybe that day you're going through something and you don't realize it. You just received like a bad test score, you got some bad news, like you didn't get the food you wanted. Some shit happened. Maybe like it's not always the other person. Maybe like you gotta look at yourself. Maybe you weren't at it that day. So like always give somebody another chance.
Exactly. I remember I had this student that came up to me later and was like, I used to not like you. And I was like, what? I was like, I know I'm not that likable, but Jesus. But he was like, no, like the first day I met you, you were just so focused on something else. You were really intimidating. And I was like, I'm like one of the least intimidating people ever. But she's like, no, like I took the chance to really continue to get to know you. And I was like, that's the thing, right? Like I was probably having a very off day, just a very off hour. And she took the chance to continue to get to know me. But imagine if she would have had this misconception of who I was. And it's like, it's that off day that I had, or that off hour that I might have had, or that off interaction that sometimes we all have too.
I think that's how I felt too when like we first started the One Genuine program. I was like, oh, this is Alfredo. Like, I'm scared. Like, oh, when we had to do our one-on-ones, I was like, okay, let me like not mention anything. Let me not be like truthful. Let me just pretend I'm the perfect student or something. But like, I really like, I was like, okay, like Alfredo's human too. Like, he's not like, he's not gonna like shame you. He's not gonna like, and I think it's just again like even our own like our own selves like realizing that like it's okay like and I think even being careful with even if there are people who judge you, do not let that stop you from being you. I think that's another thing.
And I think with that, that brings up another life lesson of like not letting, there's this card of like, what other people think of me is none of my business. It's funny because it's, let me see if I can find it. But like, I think that's another huge life lesson of, fuck what anybody else thinks of you.
Mm-hmm.
If people have negative things to say about you, then they're probably one of those people you really don't want in your life. So it's like really being able to not internalize some of the things and what other people have to say about you, because opinions are like assholes. We all have one, but it's like, don't let what other people think of you affect how you look at yourself, because that's their own insecurities talking. So it's like, I think that's another huge life lesson of like, don't let what other people think of you affect what you think of yourself. And I think as when we're younger, we're more likely to really dig our hole when someone has negative things to say about us. But as we get older, I think it becomes one of those things where we start brushing it off. It's like, whatever, like, I don't care. I don't really know you like that anyway. So I think that's another life lesson that we should all learn.
I like that. I think that goes off with too, like friends and family in general. Like one thing I very much learned is that you can choose your friends and you can even choose your family. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to just be like, well, that's my cousin, they're never gonna change. Like it is what it is. Like I'm just gonna be, and you don't have to put yourself in that negative space or with negative people if you don't want to. You could choose, who you spend your time with and who you're with. Because I feel like a lot of people excuse their family, especially you're just like, ugh, that's my dad. He's always gonna be this way, and be like, I've definitely learned to be like, you know what? No, like I'm gonna let them know that I don't like how they talk to me, or I don't like the way that they like say this certain stuff, because I get it. Like people like a big thing always in my life was like, that's my cousin, or that's my dad. That's always gonna be them. Like I'm just gonna leave it alone. But like what I've learned is like also when you get to this age of like you're older now, you're not just like a kid anymore in the family. You could say now like what you want to say, and just realizing like when I started college and stuff, my family, like at least on my dad's side, started being very judgmental, being like, oh, so you think you're better than us now because you go to college? Oh, like you're white now, like you're not like who you are. And I was just like, what? Like for a while I would just sit back and just take it, just be like, let them talk. But after a while I just started like, we got into not back then, I wish I had this lesson of like how to communicate with others, but back then we were just going back and forth yelling. And I mean, it didn't get us anywhere, but now it's gotten better too, because I've now, like, we've all kind of realized, at least with my cousins, at least, I've told them, it was a big fight where I told them, like, I don't appreciate how y'all put me down for going to college. Like, and it's not about, oh, I'm better than you or anything. And I don't even show off. It was never like, oh, haha, I'm in my class or anything. Never. But like, if I couldn't show up for parties or anything like that, it would just be like, well, that's the college girl, like that's the white girl and stuff. And it was just like, don't put me down like that. If anything, like encourage me. And I told him, I don't have to talk to you guys, like to y'all ever again. Like, and we just got into this argument, and I mean, it didn't end well, but like afterwards, I learned a big lesson, learning how to communicate with others, because when two people are yelling, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, I think it's such communication is such a big key.
Yeah, I think one time in high school I took this trip to Africa, and like the guy he was like a good mentor of mine, or like he used to be. And like he knew like I don't like to take stuff like anybody's BS. Like I don't do that. Or like if I have something in my head, I'll speak it like when you know what I'm saying. But like I know you also know the places and times. Well, apparently he didn't like it, and he pretty much told me I wouldn't succeed in life and I wouldn't make it through college, blah blah blah. But ever since that day, like he always sends me emails saying he's sorry and blah blah blah, because he sees I'm a third year in college right now, going to a pretty good university. And it's like, yes, you shouldn't take crap from anybody, but also you got to learn when to pick and choose your fights, because like always going at it is not going to be the good idea. And like in the moment, I know it's been me too. In the moment, you're like, fuck this. Like you don't care. And you go for it, but like it's like a skill you'll get eventually. That you learn who is worth it and who's not worth it. And most of the time, like it's not worth it. Like you don't really, it doesn't matter. You know?
And you guys are hitting on a couple of things. It's like really, one, self-advocating for yourself, and two, using your voice and learning how to use your voice, right? Like some people just use their voice to use it. Other people are just very smart of when to do it and how it comes along. And then you hit on a third thing between the two of you. It's like people around us in our circles and our families, and it's like we're at the point in our lives where, you know, they always say, you know, blood is thicker than water, but for many of us in our different points in life, sometimes some of us have to start building our own families and our own circles because X or Y, and know that that's okay too, right? But really self-advocating on top of that is like really up to you. If you're in a really terrible environment with certain people, like, you know, it's really up to you to self-advocate and, you know, reach out for help too. And we're here to help you, but like self-advocate for yourself. You know, if you see something's wrong, say something. Don't be afraid to speak up, but be smart about it too. Right? You know, be like you were saying, Lalo, there's a time and place for everything. But like, I remember I've had conversations with many of you of like how to approach certain situations. And I think as you all grow and mature, you start learning these different skills of like how to grab a bad situation and be the mature one and build off of that and make it a life lesson for yourself and other people too. So I don't know, y'all are really hitting on a bunch of things. So I really appreciate it.
I think this goes into, I think one big important lesson is learning how to forgive those who hurt you. I know it takes a long time to even learn that lesson. I think I was always used to be, especially in high school, I always used to be the girl who like held a lot of grudges and like, again, like being like, I had a lot of like hurt from people and stuff like that who have hurted me. And I used to be like, I don't even want to talk to them anymore. I don't like them. I don't even want to, talk to them. And even during college, you go through so much in college, I feel like, and it's just learning how to forgive others. And it's not even just, again, I feel like this is such a cliche thing to say, you forgiving them not for them but for yourself, because at the end of the day you need to be at peace with yourself. Don't hold that anger. It's really a waste of time. I think, like, of course you could forgive them, but you don't have to. That doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with them still. That doesn't mean you have to talk to them now again and stuff. Literally just forgiving them for yourself and moving on with it. Because if you, I feel like that card,
this card, yeah. So this is what this card says, right? It says letting go, and it says, I don't dwell on bad things that happened. I let things go because I have enough heavy things to carry around. ... And also, grudges aren't a great look.
Yeah, I think it's like, it hurts you more at the end of the day not letting go of some things. Because don't get me wrong, if someone hurts you really bad, like there are people out there who have hurt you so bad where it's the point.
Intentionally too, yeah.
Yeah, intentionally. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, just being like, should I why should I forgive them? Why should I give them that? And it's not about giving them that. It's giving yourself that, because they have that power over you. You have that anger towards them, or you're always going to be like, oh, I hate them. Oh, like, I don't like them. And it's just letting it go, because at the end of the day, once you let it go, it's like great, because then it's like you move on with your life and you don't even think about them anymore. I feel like the more you hang on to it, the more you're thinking about them, the more energy you're putting out there to just even like, wasting your time and your energy to just focus on that. Like, you got to move on, let it go. I try to figure out, like, I get it at the moment. You're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to feel that pain. You're allowed to, feel anything like you are. But like at the end of the day, realizing, don't hang on to it. Let it go.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think within that kind of letting go and like self-healing, I think for me, it comes back to kind of even that self-love, right? And that patience that we should be having with ourselves. I think even as first gen, as, even students of color, something we always do in our heads is we think so far ahead of like, we need to do this, I want to accomplish this. And then we stress ourselves out when we're not accomplishing all those things and we're not patient with ourselves. So like, be patient with yourself too. You're exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and things are going to come up. And things in life is going to continue to do that. So like, again, with that self-love and that self-healing and everything like that, also understand that things are going to come up in life as they're supposed to, right? Sometimes things are a little bit rushed, but don't get impatient with yourself, and know that like, you might not have, that job that pays you what you want right now, but it is going to come along, and you have to keep working towards those things. So don't get impatient too.
What do you think with, I know it gets stressful because everyone's trying to figure out who they are right now, and figure out like, this is what I want to do right now.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw this somebody put it this way, life isn't about finding finding life isn't about like finding your hold on. Life isn't about like I see life as a continuous journey. And when you pick up parts of yourself that make I see it as a fuck, I'm trying to find the best way to say this. So think of a heart, right? And then think of a heart as a puzzle piece. You go through life picking up these different puzzle pieces that start making you who you are. So many times we think that we have to do these things to get to who we're going to be, but sometimes we forget that the whole process develops us of who we are. So I see life as a puzzle piece. I'm picking up these different puzzle pieces as I continue to go throughout life that are shaping who I am. And some of those puzzle pieces are incredible and great, and some of those puzzle pieces aren't so pretty, but they're still making me who I am. I think that's the way I see life. These days I try not to rush things, and I try not to rush what life should look like, because I'm realizing that I'm not searching for who I should be. I'm becoming the person that I should be throughout this whole journey, if that makes any sense. I hope that made sense. Sorry.
It does. I really like that, because I feel like we live in a society right now where it's like rush, like you need to know who you are, you need to know what you're doing in 5 years, you need to have this plan, and that's it. And it feels like it gives you no space to have that, like, or who I am. And like I feel like one thing I learned is it's okay to lose old parts of yourself too. Again, like I feel like everyone could say, like, once you're a fourth year, you are not the same as you were your first year in college, or even like you are not the same person you were when you graduate high school to when you are 21 and stuff. Like, and I feel like a lot of people, or like just in general, like some people aren't okay with that. They're trying to go back to who they were, but realizing like, your new self, you gotta love it, and like being okay and letting your old past, go away.
And it's funny, this is actually a recent thing that just happened, but I had someone really close to me the other day, tell me that, like, she's like, oh, 3 years ago, you used to be the go-to person that was always there for people. And she's like, now you're just a selfish little prick. And I was like, hold up. And I was like, yeah, girl. And I was like, cause I went from, always worrying about other people and, putting other people first. I learned to, self-love and how to put myself first and prioritize myself. How am I supposed to help others if I can't even help myself, right? And I was trying to help her see that, like, I'm not a selfish prick, but I'm really more focused on, like, myself and my future and really my mental health and myself, right? Because so many times I was so focused, and I think we do this so much. We focus so much on other people and we don't focus so much on ourselves. And it's like, I'm not being a selfish prick. It's like, girl, I'm taking time to also grow as a human. I'm sorry I cannot drive to your house right now because, you're having this thing. And I was like, girl, we can talk about it over the phone. I don't have to drop everything and drive to your house, So it's like, as you grow, people aren't always going to be okay with who you're becoming, but know that's a part of life and that's part of your process. And not everyone's going to be a big fan of that, and that's okay. And always remember, like, that own self-love before self-loving others too.
I think that goes into another lesson, not depending on others for your happiness and for your self-care. I think that's such a big thing. I always was that person to be like, I need reassurance. I need people to tell me that they like me, that they love me, that I'm important. But like realizing that is not like, you can't be dependent on other people. You need to be independent and find that in yourself. Again, I'm not perfect in this example still, but like I feel like that's such a big thing, because it's like you start to then form unhealthy attachments to people. Then you start to drag people down with you, and that's not okay. I think like one example, again, I think last year, Alfredo, like, I went through such a tough time, and I was very depending on like my best friend. I was like, I felt so bad for her now, but like we talk about it, and like I remember every day being like, okay, well, she's gonna be here for me, like she's gonna be here and like be here while I cry and rant and stuff like that. And it was every day, and I felt so bad, because I was like, she's not going through this, so why am I putting through what I need to go through by myself? And it wasn't fair, because it's like, again, like putting other people what you're going through, it's like you got to handle it yourself. And like I started realizing, Brianna, you got to go through this on your own, and that's not wrong either. That is like, that's not bad. She was there for me for the support, definitely, but I started realizing, she doesn't need to be there all the time. Like I don't need to just every time I'm crying about her. Every time I think about it, I don't need to go message her. I don't need to go meet up with her. I need to sometimes sit down and be alone and handle my, like, you know, my own business and like deal with it and like be independent and finding my own happiness, you know, and not just being like, oh my goodness, I feel sad. Let me just go distract myself. Let me go, you know, let me just go find someone who could like feel my pain with me and stuff. It's just being about like, you know, finding your own happiness in yourself. I'm one of those people now where I'm okay being alone. I love myself being alone. I think I'm pretty funny and a good time. But yeah, does someone else want to hop
Lalo,
on?
you had something?
Yeah. Going back to that, I think it's really good, like, for you to find a way to, like, just a way for you to, like, because life always does move so fast, and life will always be moving like really fast. If you could find a way to slow it down and just like relax, you know, there's always moments where you like you're gonna have a lot of projects or you have a lot of family things going on or bills or whatever. Like if you find like ways to slow down life and like just relax and like catch yourself up in the moment, that's always gonna help. And also like surrounding yourself with like with the right people, like the homies. If you pick your homies right, they always got your back and they'll always be there to hype you up. They'll see when you start changing. They'll help you out, like if you need anything. But like I've been through a lot of things in my life, and like they don't even like I don't tell them about what's going on or nothing. Like somebody passes away or something like that. I don't even need to tell them. They just like notice that something's up with you, and I get a text message, hey, let's go out to eat, let's go do this, and like somebody's always got your back. If not, you could always find a way to like get your own back. You know what I'm saying? Like by slowing stuff down and like being there for you.
Yeah, Lalo, that's fucking huge. And it's honestly something that I know I've talked to Brianna about, but like I think even as, you know, again, coming back to where we grew up, who we are, where we grew up from, we're always thinking of what's next, right? Like I think of myself and I'm like, I went from undergrad to work to graduate school right away to you know, job to wanting to you know, to getting married into this to that, and then like now I'm like, oh, PhD, cool, let's go. And then, you know, that's something that I just learned. It's stop and smell the roses. I've worked so hard my whole life to get to where I am right now that I'm always thinking of what's next. Well, that's great. Stop and smell the roses for a little bit and enjoy it. Enjoy, you know, some of those wins. Enjoy where you're at in life. And realize that this is the only time in your lifetime where you'll be in the same place, because tomorrow's a different day. And, you know, down the road, you might be in a different city, in a different environment. So like, stop and slow down. Like people are like, I want to finish college. Yes, I do too, right? We all do. But enjoy it, because this is the first time where you're an undergrad, you have school, you know, you might have a part-time job, but you don't have to worry about so many other things that come later down the road, like a house payment and rent and other things that not all of us currently have, right? But like, stop and smell the roses, slow down, enjoy it. Enjoy where you're at.
Back.
You're never gonna get a moment back.
I
So
think
it's good to like see what you are in the moment.
I think another like one lesson I've learned was that, especially I think this year and stuff, I feel like a lot of people, again, society pressures that you have to be in a relationship with someone and always
Oh my God,
makes
yes.
it seem like being single is so terrible when it's not. Honestly, it really isn't that terrible. Don't get me wrong, it does be like it gets lonely and you're like, I'm never gonna be loved and all that stuff. But it's like it's not even about that. I watched this video, I watched this clip, and this guy was just talking about you better enjoy being single, because this is the last time you're gonna be able to do stuff for yourself, because you think it's so great to have someone else and stuff like that. They're like, no. They're like, don't think it's all roses on the other side, because this is your last time to enjoy yourself. The guy in the video was talking about, you better enjoy that moment where you could just choose what you want to watch on your own. You better enjoy that moment where you could just eat whatever you want and not have to deal with like, oh, what do you want to eat today? No, what do you want to eat today? Like, and just realizing, I think in the video too, he was talking about like, girls, like this is the last time where you won't need to worry about, you know, like having kid or like in general. He was just talking about like, you know, not even just a relationship, but like say like people are trying to like get married and stuff. Like I understand for like other people, they're like, oh, I need to get married and stuff like that. It's like realizing that, you know, it's not gonna be fun having a little kid following you around everywhere sometime when you're like that person that's like, I want my space and stuff. Like, so enjoy this moment right now. Cause I was like, you know, it is nice just to like lay down my bed and not get like, so why didn't you call me? Why, like, you know, like I feel like that's such a great thing to realize that it is okay, because this is the last time you get to think for yourself. Like,
and some people measure success that way. They're like, okay, graduated from college, got married, had kids. It's like a little check mark everybody wants, and we start measuring success that way, where it's like, no, exactly going back to what Lalo said, like, take it slow, enjoy life. Like, you know, being single is great. You know, being in a relationship is also great, and things are gonna come. You know, don't rush things and enjoy it. And there's a lot of benefits from being single. There's also a lot of benefits from being in a relationship, but
Both
it's like,
sides, yeah.
yeah, both sides, but like be patient with it. Don't rush into anything you don't want to. You
There's
know,
the checklist. Like, you don't have to just be like, check, check, check. I'm great. I'm successful and stuff like that. I think I used to be one of those people in high school that was like, okay, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna have my career and all that stuff. And me now, I'm realizing I'm like, it is okay if I don't have that marriage right after college. It is okay if I don't find my dream career right after graduate. Like, it is okay to take your time and just relax.
yeah. And as humans, we're changing and we're ongoing changing. What I liked yesterday might not be what I like tomorrow, right? Like maybe what I studied in undergrad wasn't exactly the job that I love. Let's go to grad school. Let's see what else other things. Maybe I want to do a different career change. Like again, we put success on these benchmarks that we do this, and this makes us successful when life works in different ways. And that's why we're all different. And stop measuring success, comparing that to other people too. And that goes back to don't compare yourself with other people. We're all on this journey individually. We're all, going to work hard in different ways. And it's not a race. It has never been a race. We'll get to where we are whenever, we get there. And that's going to be okay.
I feel like there's a saying that's like, you're only in competition with yourself.
There you go.
I don't think it's in like me versus this person or anything. It's really just about you in competition with yourself. And realizing there shouldn't be like no competition like that. Like you really should just, relax.
Yeah. And you think with that sorry guys, this is like a good subject, but I think something that I've learned too, as someone as an older professional out of the two of you, but like something I've always learned is as you continue to get up in the ladder, pull people with you, bring people with you. Like, and it's funny because my peers and my mentors always told me that they're like, I got a promotion. However, I'm taking you with me because I want you to learn this or that skill because I want you to be this professional. So it's like, as you go through life, like remember to pull people up with you, right? Of like, and pass down your skills that like if you just bought a house and know how to do that, pass that down to somebody else, like keep passing that information and support your community and support other people too, because karma has a way of working itself out too.
Yeah. I think that goes to, again, you can't control the things that happen to you, but you can control what you do about it and how you feel about it. I think it's such a big lesson that we all need to learn. Because I know, like you said, something bad could happen and you could just be like, oh, the world hates me, like that's it, like I give up and stuff. But just realizing that how you take it, it's how it's gonna manifest, I think, or how it's gonna happen. But if something bad happens to you, just, again, I think we wouldn't learn all these lessons if something happened to us. Just taking it as a lesson and just be like, okay, this didn't go my way, but it's okay, like this is what I've learned from it, and maybe next time around I will come out better from it.
Exactly. So I know this is like such a dope subject that I think all three of us have different things to share, right? But why don't we wrap it up so this one isn't too long, Maybe what is the last piece of advice you just have for people? Just, it can be absolutely any piece of advice you want.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too.
We like each getting a turn or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have something, Lala? You want to go first?
I guess, yeah. So, when one of my family members passed away, one of the biggest things I can remember them saying, and like the last things I remember them saying, was to never let an opportunity pass by. And it's kind of like a carpe diem type thing. Like, you never know what'll happen tomorrow. And yes, it's good to have goals for like 4 years, 12 years, 10 years, whatever. But it's about what you fill those spaces in between with. What are you going to remember during those 4 years? Are you going to remember that you just sat there at that desk every day grinding? Or do you remember that one party or the connections? It's always about, for me, it's always about filling like all the empty space. You don't want any empty space on your timeline. You want there to be memories all the time about like anything that you did. And you just want to make sure that you make the best of every day and every moment you get, because you never know what will happen tomorrow.
I love that. That's freaking awesome.
I'll go. The last thing I want to say is, like, I think it's so beautiful to look at those who have broken you and have hurt you and have caused you any pain, and to realize that, your heart is still able to love and still able to talk. Like, you're still able to love other people, even though people in your past have hurt you. And I think it's a good thing, it's a beautiful thing when your heart gets broken, and if it could still love, that's great, because it just shows how good your heart is. And I think realizing that, don't take revenge. Don't use secrets against people. Don't use their secrets against, using them, to blackmail them or anything like that. I think that's a big thing learning in life, not to take revenge and not to hold grudges. And I think if anything I could say is like realizing that life is always going to involve other people coming into it, and being okay, being okay with talking to other people, and just realizing the beauty in yourself as a person and who you are. It's a journey. I think self-love is a big journey. But yeah, it's okay. There's always someone there to talk to if you ever need it, and not to be scared. I think the number one thing I always tell people, don't be scared to ask for help. It is okay to ask for help. It is, in terms of like, again, not being dependent on other people, but it is okay if you're like stuck and you just need some help. So
Yeah, I think, kind of going on what the two of you said, don't be afraid, right? I think it comes with taking risk and everything else, but like, don't be afraid. Going back to what Lalo said, you're going to pretty much miss every shot you don't take. And so many times we stop ourselves from doing things because we're afraid, right? We're afraid to, move to a different city because X or Y. We're afraid to, break up with this person because of X or Y. We're afraid to take in, this class because of X and Y. Don't be afraid of things. There's this the saying too that goes something along the lines of like, with every end comes a new beginning. So like, change, exactly. So stop being afraid of doing things, because you never know where life is going to lead you if you start taking those risks, if you stop being afraid. And it might be challenging, but it's going to lead you to some fucking fantastic places. Yeah, I think all of us can identify something in our life where we took a chance and it turned into something so beautiful and so incredible. So like, don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, right, like, you have those family members, those friends that are going to help you walk you through it. They might not drive to your house right away, but like, that phone call, whatever it might be. So don't be afraid. Never be afraid of doing things, because I think fear is the one thing that stops us from being some of our best selves.
I like that. I think on that's a good note to end it on. I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches this or who's going to listen to this. Again, if you ever want to join, let us know. This is just an open, free space for everyone to come talk to. Next week, we're going to talk about TV shows and music that we just want to talk about. Yeah.
I'm putting a list.
Yeah, so make a list. We're going to be talking about, I know for sure we're going to be talking about Tiger King. We're going to be talking about shows that, we recommend, or just in general, just talking about shows and movies and music.
Yeah, and I think all of our different music genre, I think all of us listen to different music too.
Yeah. So. I think that'll be great. Hopefully we don't get like copyrighted or anything, because I post these on YouTube. But I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here. And so I think we could just wave off and say bye to everyone. See y'all next.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.